Usually when we make a decision to buy something, there's this underlying expectation of pure logic.
Right, like it's a completely rational process.
Exactly. It feels like accounting.
Yeah.
You need a new phone, so you compare the battery life, you look at the camera megapixels, you check the price tag.
And you just pick the one with the best numbers.
Maximum value for minimum cost. I mean, it's clean, it makes sense, and it's easy to explain.
We genuinely like to think of ourselves as perfectly rational creatures making these perfectly rational choices based on data.
But then you look out the window on a rainy Tuesday morning, and there is a literal line of people camped out around the block.
Oh, yeah. In the freezing rain.
Yes. They are shivering in tents, sleeping on the sidewalk, just to buy a piece of technology they could, easily order online from the comfort of their couch a week later.
Which completely shatters the illusion of the rational consumer.
It really does. Suddenly, that rational equation is completely broken. We are looking at human behavior that honestly defies all traditional logic.
Because a rational consumer just does not sleep in the rain for a phone.
They really don't. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to explore exactly that kind of irrational, beautiful, cult-like loyalty.
It's such a fascinating topic.
It is. We are pulling from the concepts in Simon Sinek's groundbreaking work, Start With Why. We want to uncover the actual biology and behavioral science behind this.
Right, trying to understand why certain leader and organizations can inspire that kind of unwavering dedication.
Exactly. From Apple to the Wright brothers, while the rest of the world just, scrambles to compete on price.
Because in a world where almost any product or service can be easily reverse engineered and replicated, it's wild. We have to figure out why some companies enjoy this massive following, while others are just treated as interchangeable commodities.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of a time you listening right now stayed loyal to a brand or a leader, even when it cost you more money.
Or when it was way less convenient.
Right. Why did you do it? You probably didn't run a spreadsheet to make that choice.
And that is the core mystery we are going to look at today. We are going to strip away the traditional myths of success.
Because we hear those myths all the time, right?
Constantly. We are so often told that success comes down to having the most funding, doing the most extensive market research, or just having perfect timing.
But when you look closely, the underlying pattern of true inspiration has almost nothing to do with those things.
Nothing at all.
So to understand true inspiration, I think we first have to take a hard look at what everyone else is doing.
Which is usually the exact opposite of inspiration.
Yeah, honestly, what the vast majority of the business world is doing is manipulation.
It's true. There really are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it, or you can inspire it.
And we are surrounded by the manipulations, the carrots and sticks of the business world.
We see this everywhere, every single day.
Price drops, 2-for-1 promotions.
Based messaging, too.
Oh, like that old anti-drug commercial with the egg in the frying pan? This is your brain on drugs.
Exactly. Or aspirational messaging telling us we can be a millionaire in 6 weeks if we just buy this one specific course.
Right. And blatant peer pressure, like an ad claiming, 4 out of 5 dentists prefer this toothpaste.
Implying you'd be foolish not to buy it. We also see the promise of novelty disguised as innovation.
Oh, that's a big one.
Think back to the Motorola RAZR phone from the mid-2000s.
Yeah. Oh, man, I remember that. If you didn't have a RAZR, you were nobody.
Exactly. Motorola launched it with this massive press release boasting about aircraft-grade aluminum.
Wow, aircraft grade.
Right, and a chemically etched keypad that made it ridiculously thin. And it worked brilliantly at first. I mean, they sold over 50 million units.
But it was just a novelty, wasn't it?
It was just a shiny new object. Within 4 years, competitors easily copied the thin profile and the metal finish.
So the novelty just wore off.
It completely wore off. The CEO was forced out, and Motorola's stock tanked. Contrast that with Apple's iPhone, which came out slightly later.
Right, because Apple didn't just add a shiny physical feature.
No, they introduced true innovation by completely changing how the telecommunications industry functioned.
They flipped the whole dynamic.
They actually told massive service providers like AT&T what the phone would do, rather than the service providers dictating the terms to the manufacturer.
That's crazy. I look at all this manipulative marketing and it feels exactly like a sugar rush.
Right.
Or maybe a caffeine addiction.
That's a great way to put it.
Sure, dropping the price or offering a massive mail-in rebate gets you a quick, guaranteed sale, but it makes the customer a junkie.
They're just sitting around waiting for the next hit of a discount.
Exactly. They won't buy from you at full price ever again, which completely destroys the company's margins.
What's fascinating here is the hidden long-term cost of those manipulations. They create fleeting transactions, not lasting loyalty.
Do we have a good example of that from the text?
Look at the American car industry as a prime example. Facing massive competition from foreign automakers in the 1990s and 2000s, companies like General Motors started offering huge cashback incentives.
Like just handing out cash to buy a car,
Yes, sometimes up to $7,000 just to get a car off the lot.
which is a massive hit to take on a single vehicle.
Yeah.
Consumers must have loved it, but it essentially trained them to hold out for the next big sale.
It did. In the short term, sales spiked, but it severely eroded their profit margins to the point of unsustainability.
I can imagine.
By 2007, GM was losing $729 per vehicle.
Wait, they were losing money on every single car they sold.
Literally couldn't afford to sell their own cars. And
Wait.
businesses do this constantly with promotions like rebates, relying on cynical industry metrics.
Cynical metrics like what?
Well, there's breakage, which is the percentage of customers who buy the product but failed to claim the rebate.
Oh, because it's too much of a hassle to mail in the form.
Right, and slippage, the ones who claim it but never actually cash the check. Samsung actually got caught in the early 2000s burying fine print that denied rebates to customers living in apartment buildings.
You're kidding.
It-
Just to increase their breakage numbers.
Yes, it is highly profitable in the short term, but it breeds absolute zero trust.
Well, if manipulations are this destructive to long-term trust and profit margins, there has to be a more sustainable approach.
There is.
Moving from that toxic sugar rush of manipulation to the sustainable nourishment of what we can call the golden circle.
The golden circle is a naturally occurring pattern. It's a fundamentally different way of thinking, acting, and communicating.
Okay, break that down for me.
Imagine 3 concentric circles like a bullseye. The outermost largest circle is what?
Just simply what they do.
Exactly. Every single organization on the planet knows what they do. These are the products they sell or the services they offer. It's the easiest thing to identify.
Then the middle circle is HL,
Right. How they do it. These are their differentiating value propositions.
like their proprietary processes or whatever.
Yes, the specific things that supposedly make them better or faster than the competition.
And then there is the center, the absolute bullseye, WHY.
Very few people or companies can clearly articulate WHY they do what they do. And to be clear, by WHY, we do not mean to make money.
Right, making money is just a result.
Your WHY is your purpose, your cause, or your belief. Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone else care?
But most companies communicate from the outside in, don't they?
They do. They go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. They go what to how W2 to WHY.
So if Apple communicated like everyone else, their marketing message would sound incredibly boring.
It would just be a list of features.
Right, it would sound like, we make great computers, they're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one?
It's completely uninspiring. It relies entirely on features and benefits.
Which just invites the consumer to go look for a cheaper version with the same features.
Exactly. But Apple uses inside-out communication. They start with the WHY.
Right, their actual approach sounds more like this. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo, we believe in thinking differently.
That hooks you immediately.
Yeah, and then they say, the way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We happen to make great computers. Want to buy one?
It feels completely different.
Right.
You aren't buying a computer, you are buying into an idea.
And it leads to a core realization for the text, which is a great mantra. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
That is the whole secret right there.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. I want to push back on this a bit.
Sure, go for it.
If a company's product is genuinely superior on a technical level, say you have a PC with a significantly faster processor, way more RAM, and a better graphics card than a Mac,
Okay.
why isn't the what enough? Why does the WHY matter if the objective mathematical specs are undeniably better?
Because better is entirely subjective. It changes based on the WHY.
How so?
Consider the difference between a Ferrari F430 and a Honda Odyssey minivan.
Well, a Ferrari is an absolute mechanical marvel. It's engineered to perfection.
It is, but if you have a family of 6 and you need to get them to soccer practice, a 2-seater Ferrari is absolutely useless. It is not better for you.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Conversely, if you're a single executive trying to make a statement, the minivan probably isn't your best bet.
Right, so better depends on what you actually value.
Exactly. A simple claim of better even with a mountain of rational evidence and data, just creates a debate. But establishing the WHY first creates alignment.
So you don't have to convince a Ferrari buyer that the car is better with an Excel spreadsheet of engine specs.
No, their personality and values are already predisposed to favor it. They are buying an identity.
What really changes the paradigm here is realizing this isn't just a clever marketing gimmick or a nice framework for ad copy.
Not at all.
It actually maps perfectly to human anatomy. The way our brains are physically structured dictates this entire process.
It really is biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain from the top down, the newest evolutionary area, our Homo sapien brain, is the neocortex.
And that corresponds perfectly to the what level of the golden circle.
It does. The neocortex handles rational thought, analytical data, and language.
So that is the part of the brain that understands the megapixels, the processor speeds, and the price differences.
Precisely. But the middle two sections comprise the limbic brain. This corresponds to the HHW and the WHY.
And the limbic brain is where the magic happens.
It really is. The limbic brain is responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It controls all human behavior and all of our decision-making.
But here's the critical catch, the thing that explains so much of human behavior.
The limbic brain has absolutely no capacity for language.
No capacity for language. That completely explains why we struggle so much to put our deepest feelings into words.
We just can't articulate it properly.
Right. If someone asks you why you love your spouse, you don't list their technical specs. You don't say, well, they're 5'6", they earn exactly this much money, and they have 10 fingers and 10 toes.
You might say they're funny, but there are lots of funny people in the world you don't want to marry.
Yeah, we start to talk around the feeling. We say things like, they complete me, or, I don't know, it just feels right.
That is your language-impaired limbic brain making the decision, while your neocortex struggles to find the words to rationalize it.
That perfectly explains gut decisions.
Yeah.
We feel it in our gut, but the stomach obviously isn't making the choice.
No, the limbic brain is.
There's this incredible anthropological study from the text about laundry detergent that proves how powerful this is.
Oh, smell study.
Yes. For years, detergent companies asked consumers what they wanted, and people rationally used their neocortex to say, we want whiter whites and brighter brights.
Because that sounds like the right answer.
Exactly. So these massive companies spent millions adding color enhancers and proteins and blue beads to the powder.
But then anthropologists actually went into homes and observed people doing laundry.
And when people pulled towels out of the dryer, they didn't hold them up to the light to measure the brightness of the white fabric.
No. What did they do?
They buried their faces in the fabric and took a deep breath.
The biological driver wasn't looking clean, it was feeling clean. The smell was the trigger for the limbic brain.
It reminds me of trying to explain a joke. If I tell you a joke and you don't laugh, and then I have to explain the data points of why it's structurally funny,
But the humor is completely dead.
you have to feel the punchline. If you dissect a frog, you understand how it works, but the frog dies. If you dissect a joke, the humor dies.
That's a great analogy.
So if we, as leaders or businesses, are forcing people to make decisions based only on the what, we're basically forcing them to overthink and killing the connection.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, without a clearly communicated WHY, buyers are left to rely solely on empirical evidence.
And that's exhausting.
It creates immense stress and doubt. Imagine standing in the electronics aisle, staring at a wall of 50 different TVs.
Oh, I've been there. It's awful.
Listening to a salesperson rattle off the technical differences between LCD, LED, and OLED screens. Your mind goes into absolute overload.
But a customer with a clear WHY, like someone buying an Apple product or a Harley-Davidson, doesn't feel that stress at all.
Not at all. They already made the emotional decision in their limbic brain before they even walked in the store.
They're just using the whats to rationalize the purchase they've already made.
Exactly.
So we can clearly see how the limbic brain creates fierce loyalty in customers who are buying a product. But humans don't suddenly change their biology just because they put on a uniform and clock in for work.
Right. Biology is biology.
That same limbic need for belonging has to drive the people inside the company too. So, does a clear WHY attract the right employees and build internal trust?
It is the exact same mechanism internally. It brings to mind Dr. Seuss's story, The Sneetches.
The scar-belly Sneetches and the plain-belly Sneetches.
Yes, it's a perfect, simple metaphor for the innate human need to belong. We intensely crave the feeling of connection and safety that comes from being around people who share our values and beliefs.
And when a leader broadcasts their WHY loudly and clearly, they act as a magnet for those people.
They absolutely do.
Look at Ernest Shackleton's 1914 endurance expedition to the Antarctic. He needed a crew for what was, frankly, practically a suicide mission.
It was incredibly dangerous.
If he had run a standard "what focus want" ad, it would have said, men needed for expedition, minimum 5 years experience, must know how to hoist a mainsail and survive sub-zero temperatures.
Which would have attracted qualified, highly skilled sailors.
But perhaps not the right mindset for surviving a disaster.
Exactly. A normal sailor would see the ship getting trapped in the ice and think, I didn't sign up for this, I'm out.
But Shackleton didn't write that ad. His ad in the London Times read, "Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success."
He hired entirely for the WHY.
He wanted survivors who believed in honor above comfort.
And because he hired for a shared belief, when their ship was eventually crushed by the ice and they were stranded on frozen floes for 10 months, no one mutinied.
They worked together, and miraculously, everyone survived.
We see this powerful internal alignment in modern business, too. Gordon Bethune took over Continental Airlines in 1994 when it was definitively the worst airline in the industry.
They were really struggling, right?
The company had filed for bankruptcy twice in a decade, and the internal culture was deeply toxic.
Employees actually hated the company. The executives had locked themselves away.
They did. The 20th floor executive suites literally required key cards and had armed guards to keep the regular employees out.
That is insane.
Bethune didn't just fix the flight schedules and operations, he had to rebuild trust from the ground up. He stripped away the security on the 20th floor and opened the doors.
He actually went down to the tarmac and physically slung bags with the baggage handlers too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And crucially, he gave everyone a shared goal to rally around.
What was the goal?
He told employees that every month, Continental ranked in the top 5 for on-time flights. Every single employee, from the pilots to the mechanics to the gate agents, would get a separate physical check for $65.
A separate check. Why not just add it to their payroll?
Because he didn't just want to motivate them with cash, he wanted a physical reminder. He made them feel like they were in it together, fighting for the same cause.
That's brilliant. Southwest Airlines did something incredibly similar with their early hiring practices.
Oh, the majorettes.
Yeah. They wanted their WHY to be the champion of the common man, making flying fun, accessible, and totally unpretentious.
Right.
So when they rolled out these wild 1970s uniforms with hot pants and go-go boots, they realized the only people applying for the flight attendant jobs were former cheerleaders and majorettes.
And instead of changing the uniforms to attract traditional flight attendants,
They realized, wait, these people are perfect.
yeah,
They naturally fit the attitude of cheering people on and keeping the energy high. They hired for the attitude and taught the skills later.
which is a great way to build a culture.
But I do have to push back here a little bit.
Sure.
Isn't skill still more important than a shared belief? I mean, I love passion, but I wouldn't want a passionate believer operating on my heart if they didn't actually go to medical school.
It's a very fair point. Skill is absolutely necessary, but it helps to think of it using the concept of the trapeze artist net from the text.
Okay, the trapeze artist net, how does that work?
Skill and experience are the baseline cost of entry. The surgeon obviously needs the medical degree. The trapeze artist needs to know how to swing.
Right.
But trust, the shared culture and belief within an organization is the net.
Ah, I see.
A trapeze artist will only push the envelope and try a death-defying new trick if they completely trust that the net is there to catch them if they fall.
So without the net of a shared culture, even the most highly skilled employees will stop taking innovative risks.
Exactly, and they will act entirely out of self-interest.
They stop being part of a team and they become mercenaries.
Just look at Nick Leeson at Barings Bank in the 1990s.
What happened there?
Barings was the oldest merchant bank in England. They even helped finance the Louisiana Purchase. Leeson was highly skilled, a genuine star trader who was making the bank a fortune.
Us.
But the culture at Barings had completely lost its WHY. There was an intense stigma against asking questions, admitting mistakes, or speaking out.
So no net.
No net. Driven entirely by self-gain and the pursuit of massive payouts, Leeson took unauthorized, extreme risks. When he lost money, he hid it and doubled down.
Because he couldn't admit he made a mistake.
Exactly. Because there was no net of trust and shared values. He single-handedly destroyed a bank that had survived the Napoleonic Wars and 2 world wars.
That is wild. Skill without the net of a shared WHY is incredibly dangerous.
It really is.
If trust, culture, and a clear WHY are really this powerful, they should theoretically be able to beat infinite money and resources.
They absolutely should.
And history gives us a perfect stress test for this.
Wow.
The race to invent the airplane.
It is the ultimate historical proof. You have 2 completely different approaches to the exact same problem.
Right. On one side, you have Samuel Pierpont Langley. On paper, this guy was guaranteed to win.
He had everything going for him.
He was highly educated, a respected math professor at Harvard. He was backed by the War Department with a $50,000 grant, which was an absolute fortune at the turn of the century.
A massive amount of money.
He was close friends with Andrew Carnegie. He assembled a literal dream team of the greatest minds and engineers of the day, and the New York Times followed his every move.
But look at his motivation. What?
He wanted to be the first.
He wanted fame and he wanted wealth. He wanted the historical prestige of being another Thomas Edison.
Then, a few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, you have Orville and Wilbur Wright.
A very different story.
They had zero government funding, no college degrees, not even high school diplomas for some of the team working with them. They funded the entire project with proceeds from their humble bicycle shop.
But their motivation, their WHY, was a profound, unshakable belief that the flying machine would change the course of the world.
They believed they were building something that would connect humanity.
And that shared belief created an environment of incredible resilience. The Wrights team suffered failure after failure in the freezing mud of Kitty Hawk.
But because they were driven by a cause, failure was just data.
Yes. They would bring 5 sets of parts to the field with them every single morning.
Because they fully expected to crash 5 times before dinner. Crashing wasn't a defeat, it was just part of the process of changing the world.
Precisely. They were inspired. And the outcome is history. On December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight.
What did Langley do?
A few days after the Wrights flew, Langley simply quit.
He just quit.
He didn't try to improve their design. He didn't offer his massive resources to help them refine the technology. Because he wasn't first, because he didn't get the fame and the riches, he just packed up his dream team and walked away.
It is the ultimate irony. It seems like Langley essentially bought mercenaries with his massive budget and prestige, while the Wright brothers recruited missionaries.
That's exactly what happened.
When things get tough, when the plane crashes into the mud and everyone is freezing, the mercenary just goes home. But the missionary brings 5 extra sets of parts to the field.
This raises an important question for all of us. How many of us are acting like Samuel Pierpont Langley in our own careers or in the businesses we run?
Pursuing the wrong things.
Are we intensely pursuing the what, the salary, the job title, the market share, but finding ourselves exhausted and ready to give up at the first sign of real failure because our core WHY is missing?
Wow. So what does this all mean? To tie it all together, whether you are leading a massive team, trying to sell a new product, or even just looking for a job where you actually feel like you belong.
Starting with the rational what is fighting human biology.
You are talking directly to the neocortex, forcing people into a stressful spreadsheet of pros and cons.
And that doesn't inspire anyone.
No. If you want true, enduring loyalty from your customers or your employees, you have to start with the limbic WHY.
I'll leave you with a final thought regarding the law of diffusion of innovations.
Okay, lay it on me.
Think about Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point and Everett Rogers' famous bell curve of how ideas spread. Only the first 2.5% of the population are the true innovators, followed by the early adopters.
The people willing to stand in the rain for a phone.
Exactly. If your goal is to inspire, what if true success isn't about exhausting yourself trying to convince the massive skeptical majority of the population to like your what?
Oh, that's interesting.
What if the real secret to creating a tipping point is deliberately ignoring the masses and solely dedicating yourself to finding that 2.5% who inherently believe your WHY?
Because once you get them,
When you secure those believers, the rest of the curve eventually follows on its own.
don't chase the crowd, chase the believers. I love that. Before your next big decision, before you launch that product or accept that job offer, take a moment and reflect on your own WHY.
Because if you know why you're standing in the rain, you won't even notice the cold.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.